Welcome to Magic Treehouse Club! Tonight, Jack and Annie will be adventuring to the Arctic to see a narwhal. Tonight's book is Magic Treehouse number 33, Narwhal on a Sunny Night. This book will start another set of 4 books that will have adventures featuring Jack and Annie and some amazing animals. Our story begins with Jack and Annie reading a fun book of facts at the end of a summer day. As they are looking at the first stars of the evening, Annie notices a mysterious glowing cloud that has appeared over the Frog Creek woods, and they decide to head over in case when they arrive in the woods, Morgan. The treehouse is waiting for them. Inside, they find a book called Greenland, the world's largest island. Inside the book is a map of the island, and Jack and Annie are very impressed. Annie thinks, with a name like Greenland, it must be a beautiful place filled with plants and trees. But Jack isn't so sure, since the map they found folded in the book says Greenland is near the Arctic Circle, one of the coldest places in the world. Annie is confused about the island's name, but they decide to look for signs or notes from Morgan, since neither Jack or Annie know the reason for the island's misleading name. After a quick search, they find a note from Morgan. It says, "On your next journey, you will land on the shore of an island with icebergs, reindeer, and more. On a day that seems endless, with no dark of night, travel through fog, travel through light. Explore different worlds, show friends where to go. Unite all the worlds with a word that will glow." Jack and Annie are a bit confused about the meaning of Morgan's latest riddle, but are excited to head to a new, cold destination, since they remember their previous adventure, Magic Treehouse number 12, Polar Bears Past Bedtime, where they befriended a family of polar bears. Soon, Jack and Annie are headed to the Arctic once more, but they don't feel very cold since the magic of the treehouse has once again changed their clothes. They are now wearing thick and warm clothes made of wool. Looking outside the treehouse, they are astounded by how much ice and snow they see in the water and nearby hills. Jack dips his hand in the water after seeing so many icebergs floating in it and instantly pulls it out. It is so cold! He decides to check his book for more information. It tells him that for millions of years, Greenland has been covered in ice and snow. But in the last century or two, this ice has started to melt, which can cause serious problems. He reads more about the people who call Greenland home. The book says Greenland is believed to have been settled around 4,500 years ago and is home to an estimated 56,000 people. Many of the people who live there belong to a group called the Inuit. Annie remembers they befriended a member of the Inuit tribe on their last Arctic adventure. Greenland is also a popular place for scientists to study ice and climate. As they explore more, they are excited to see a group of cute seals. Jack's book says that Greenland is home to several types of seals, the smallest being the ring seal. Soon afterwards, they see a humpback whale leaping out of the water. Jack's book says an estimated 15 different species of whale call the waters around Greenland home. Before they can read more, Annie interrupts to point out a special type of whale called a narwhal is right in front of them. Due to the long tusks on their foreheads, narwhals are sometimes known as unicorns of the sea. Annie is very excited, since she did a report on narwhals and other types of whales for school, and tells Jack that a narwhal tusk can be up to 10 feet long. She also says that narwhals are known for being very mysterious and are rarely seen even by scientists. Jack's book says they can hold their breath underwater for an estimated 25 minutes. But unfortunately, due to not doing very well outside of the wild, this is one of the reasons that narwhals are so mysterious. They communicate with clicks, squeaks, and whistles like other whales and dolphins, but also by tapping or waving their tusks. Before they can watch them some more, Jack and Annie notice an orca whale headed straight for the group of narwhals. Jack and Annie begin to shout to warn the narwhals of the potential danger. They swim away, but the orca begins to chase one of the narwhals through the icy water. The narwhal manages to escape by swimming into shallow water that the large orca whale cannot swim in, but falling ice traps the narwhal from returning to its friends. As Jack and Annie try to figure out how they can help the narwhal, they hear a voice shouting at them to stand back and get away. Jack and Annie see a young boy about their age standing atop the rocks nearby, holding a spear. The boy insists the narwhal is his and points his large spear at it. Jack thinks the kid must be from a scientific research station and is very confused as to why a scientist kid is holding a heavy spear. Jack and Annie begin to argue with the boy about the narwhal, and in the confusion, Jack takes the heavy spear away. The boy wants them to give it back so he can use it to take the narwhal's horn. But Annie says he cannot hurt the narwhal and tells him what a unique and special creature it is. After looking closely at the narwhal, the boy agrees to help Jack and Annie free it from the ice. The boy leads Jack and Annie to a wooden boat with oars and tells them to be sure to stay inside since the icy water is dangerous. He begins to row the boat into the water and heads towards the narwhal. When they reach the ice trapping it, the boy gives the oars to Jack and gets out of the boat to start breaking the ice with the spear. After he falls on the ice, he has a hard time getting up, so Annie decides to help. She can't break the ice herself, so she takes the heavy spear and tries to use it as a lever to move the ice. While it is still too heavy for her to move on her own, with the boy's help, they are able to free the narwhal. Jack and Annie cheer, and so does their new friend. He introduces himself as Ericson, since his father's name is Eric. Annie and Jack also introduce themselves, and Annie says they are just visiting Greenland. Ericson offers to introduce them to his family. Jack and Annie are excited to meet Ericson's family as they all return to the boat. As they head to his home, Ericson tells them it is named Eric's Inlet, and that his father named it after himself. Jack is a bit confused and asks if Eric's father lives on one of the many research stations in Greenland and is a scientist. Ericson seems confused by the word scientist and says his father is a sailor and that someday, when he grows up, he will be a sailor and seafarer too. Jack is even more bewildered, this time by the term seafarer, since it's not something modern kids usually say. As they get closer to Eric's Inlet, it begins to get very foggy, which reminds Jack and Annie of Morgan's riddle. The thick fog allows a large walrus to suddenly appear on a nearby iceberg and startle Jack and Annie. But Annie is still quite impressed with the massive creature. They also row by a herd of reindeer, and Annie comments how cute they are and how reindeer are also known as caribou sometimes. Jack is impressed with Annie's love and knowledge of animals. He also thinks about how Annie always has a special bond with animals and seems to be able to understand them better than most people. As they get closer to Ericson's home, Annie comments on the beauty of the area and asks how long he and his family have lived in Greenland. He tells them they left Iceland 8 years ago with a fleet of 25 ships, but not all of them completed the journey. While Annie is saddened by this, Jack is again confused as to why so many ships were lost. Surely, scientists at a research station would have better technology. He asks Ericson what year this journey happened in to better understand the events, but before he answers, Ericson points out they have reached their destination. Jack sees the water is filled with wooden ships with dragons' heads carved into the prows and realizes he's been making a huge mistake during this entire adventure. Jack and Annie are not in modern-day Greenland, but the Greenland from over 1,000 years ago that was home to the Vikings. Jack is quite concerned by all this, since in Magic Treehouse number 15, Viking Ships at Dawn, he and Annie had a rather negative experience with a Viking raid while they visited Ireland of the past. Jack also realizes all the things he has missed that should have made it obvious that he and Annie have traveled back in time during this adventure, such as Ericson's clothes, his spear, and the way he talked. While Ericson starts securing the boat, Jack whispers to Annie that they should escape as soon as possible due to their previous bad experience with Vikings. But Annie says that Morgan's riddle wants them to stay. Before Jack can argue more, Eric's son returns and starts to lead them through the village. Even though Eric's son is still somewhat injured from his fall on the ice, he's able to quickly lead Jack and Annie through the village. They see people working inside and outside their homes, children playing, and dogs running about. Two of the dogs begin barking and run towards Jack and Annie, but Eric's son commands them to stop and goes to speak with a tall, large man with red hair, who he says is his father. While Jack worries about this, Annie pets and plays with the two large dogs, who they are relieved to see are rather friendly. Eric's son brings his father over and introduces him to his new friends. Jack and Annie explain they are somewhere from far away, and Eric's son's father, Eric, welcomes them and tells his son Leaf to take their new friends home. Jack realizes that their new friend is Leif Erikson, one of the most famous explorers in history. He was the first European to explore North America, roughly 500 years before Columbus. And his father, Eric, is Eric the Red, another famous Viking explorer who was the first European to settle Greenland. As they head to their home, Jack asks Eric about his travels. He tells them he wanted a new and peaceful home for his family and thinks he has found it in the place he has called Greenland. Annie asks why he called the area Greenland, since the area is rather icy, but Eric says that since the name is nice, he thinks it will convince people to travel here. When they reach their home, Leif's mother invites them inside their house, which is the largest in the village and made of stone. The home is warm and dark and lit by oil lamps and a hearth in the middle of the room. Eric tells them to warm themselves by the fire, and Leif's mother gives them an oatmeal-like dish to eat. The family is curious how the kids made it to Greenland by themselves, and Annie says they used a map, so Jack shows them the map that was in their book. Leif and his family are amazed by the map and the journey they believe Jack and Annie must have taken to reach Greenland, and ask to see the ship they used to get there. Jack and Annie know they cannot show them the treehouse, so Annie stalls for time by asking to go in the morning since they are so tired from the journey. Everyone agrees, and Jack and Annie quietly decide to sneak out in the middle of the night and go back to the treehouse. Jack falls asleep when he isn't supposed to, as he sometimes does, but luckily, Annie wakes him up, and the two decide to leave a note for Leif before they leave. It says, "Dear Leif, we had to leave suddenly. We are borrowing your rowboat to go back to the bay. We will leave it where we met you. Many thanks to you and your family." Along with the note, Jack and Annie decide to leave the map from the book, since they noticed Leif liked it so much. When they step outside, they are shocked at how bright it is, but everyone in the village is still asleep. They hurry down the hill and to Leif's boat, but are stopped by Leif himself. Leif offers to row them back to their boat, since the water in the area is tricky to navigate. Annie is worried about Leif's injury from earlier, but he insists he's okay, and so the group gets in the boat together. Leif also explains that it is still nighttime. However, they are visiting Greenland during a time that is known for having a midnight sun. Jack realizes that since they are so far north, the sun must never go down during this time of year. Leif is very thankful for the map Jack and Annie have left him and asks them to tell them about their home as he rows them to their destination. He is very intrigued by their stories. As they say goodbye, he thanks them one more time for the map and promises to put it to good use. Jack and Annie assure him that he will be quite successful. After Leif leaves, the narwhal from earlier returns, and Annie goes over to talk with it. She carefully moves across the ice to the water's edge, despite Jack's objections. The narwhal makes a few noises at her and gently taps her head with his horn. Then she thanks it. When she returns to Jack, she says the narwhal came back to thank them for their help, and she thanked it in return. They hurry back to the treehouse, but for some reason, when they try to use the Pennsylvania book to return home, it doesn't work! They go back and check Morgan's riddle to see if it will give them a clue as to why the magic isn't working. They see they have done everything the riddle has requested them to do, except for finding the glowing word. Annie then checks the note they left for Leif's family, that he had returned to them earlier. Annie sees that the word thanks is glowing, so that must be the answer to Morgan's riddle. She is correct, and the treehouse takes them home. As they walk through the woods back to their house, Annie goes over the events of today's adventure and explains how the word thanks was the key to everything. Let's learn more about narwhals. Narwhals are a mysterious type of whale that can only be found in the cold waters of the Arctic Circle. They are distant cousins of the more well-known beluga whale. The average narwhal weighs between 2,500 to 3,500 pounds. Narwhals are social creatures that spend most of their lives in large groups called pods. What makes these whales very special is a large tusk that grows out of their face. It is these special tusks that have earned the narwhal its most popular nickname, Unicorn of the Sea. This tusk or horn is actually an incredibly long tooth. Most male narwhals have a single tooth that can grow up to 10 feet long. While scientists are still unsure what exactly these tusks do, there are some popular theories that they may be used to help narwhals organize themselves in a social sense, or it may be used to help them catch prey. The tusk itself is very sensitive and is home to a large amount of special nerve endings. Due to their home being in such cold and remote waters, as well as their ability to dive great distances, narwhals are very difficult to study. In fact, it is believed that narwhals can dive over 5,000 feet under the water. Narwhals are excellent swimmers, and it is believed they can even swim upside down. Another interesting fact about narwhals is that they change color the older they get. When they are first born, and during their early years of life, narwhals have a light blue, slightly gray color. As they get older, this bluish color darkens, so that by the time they are adults, they have a spotted gray appearance. When narwhals near the end of their life, they are entirely white. Let's learn more about Leif Erikson and Eric the Red. Leif Erikson and Eric the Red are two of the world's most famous Viking explorers. It is believed that Eric the Red was born in Norway sometime in the year 950 CE. Sometime around his 10th birthday, his father was exiled from Norway, and the family settled in Iceland. He had a son of his own in Iceland named Leif, sometime in 970 CE or afterwards. However, just like his father, Eric would eventually be exiled from Iceland in the 980s CE. Eric eventually sailed his family east, and they landed in a place Eric would call Greenland, which he named in order to encourage more people to settle there. Greenland was the place where young Leif would spend the rest of his childhood and learn the ways of the Vikings. When Leif was an adult, he sailed all around northern Europe, including the Scottish Isles, Iceland, and Norway. He also accepted a special mission from the King of Norway. After completing his mission, Leif wanted to explore as his father had and decided to sail and see what was east of known Viking territory. The first place he reached was a rocky and icy land that is now the Canadian island of Baffin. It was Leif's first North American discovery. After sailing for several days, Leif and his crew saw many islands and pieces of land, though none of them were an ideal place to start a settlement. Finally, Leif and his crew made it to somewhere that is believed to be in modern-day eastern Canada, which they named Vineland, after the amount of grapevines in the region. When Leif returned to Greenland, he was given a hero's welcome, and after his father's death, was in charge of the settlement in Iceland for the next 20 years. Learn more about these topics with books here at the library. Tonight on Magic Treehouse Club, Jack and Annie journeyed to Greenland and saw many amazing things. One of the amazing things they saw was a narwhal. So, we'll be making our own narwhal craft. For this craft, you'll need the supplies in your activity bag, as well as a black marker, crayon or colored pencil, and a glue stick. Let's make our narwhal. So our first step is going to be to give our narwhal a tail. So I'm going to glue this heart shape down here. First, my narwhal will need some flippers. So, I'll glue them on either side. Now, a narwhal wouldn't be a narwhal without its horn, so I'll glue this on top of my narwhal's head. And then, if you'd like to give the horn a little more detail, since as we know, narwhal's horns can be a little twisty, I'm going to draw some slanted lines, like this. After that, it's time to draw my narwhal's face. So, I'm going to give it 2 eyes. And then I'll fill them in. After that, I'm going to give my narwhal a big smile. So, you'll draw a shape like this, and then, in that shape, do a shape like that. And there you go, your very own narwhal craft. Try making one at home. Thank you so much for tuning in to Magic Treehouse Club. See you next week.